and welcome to another colourful edition of A Splash of Paint, brought to you in association with the SAA Society for All Artists. Let's take a closer look at some of the creative tips, tricks and techniques coming up on today's packed palette of inspiration. Renowned SAA artist Vic Bearcroft will be showing why he's the cat's whiskers when it comes to pastel painting. Popular watercolour artist Louise Bogard pops in to make a point to demonstrate why SAA sword liners are the perfect artistic accessory. Spellbinding professional artist Sharon Hurst conjures up another magical painting in today's enchanting Try Your Hand At project. Marion Dutton shares her top tip for giving your floral paintings a sparkling finishing touch. And I'll be completing my London picture that I started in last week's programme and showing you how to paint the stereotypical red London bus. Right, let's get started and see why renowned SAA artist Vic Bearcroft is considered the cat's whiskers when it comes to pastel painting.
What I want to do now is show you a couple of things that will hopefully enhance your animal portraits. The first of these is often quite overlooked. It's the whiskers. It's always quite easy to imagine drawing a whisker like so, and another whisker like so. And cats, of course, have lots of whiskers. Tigers especially have a huge amount of whiskers. If we just draw on a few whiskers like this to begin with, and always remember, of course, that they're shorter and finer at the front, longer and thicker at the back. That's the first thing. You can see what's happening. I'm using the sharp edge, the sharp corner of my hard white pastel to draw these whiskers in. And very often people will just leave it there. Now obviously you probably spend a lot of time in getting the rest of the fur looking correct, getting the eyes looking correct and so on. And whiskers can be that final touch that will let your portrait down. If you just draw them and leave them like that, they're basically white lines that are sitting on top of the muzzle. What we need to do is have the whiskers growing out of the muzzle, growing out of these whisker follicles where they start life. And the first thing to do is take your finger and give a little firm rub at the base of each whisker. This in itself will not be enough. What you need to do then, depending on the background colour of the animal, of course, in this case it's black, is take a black pastel and just run the black pastel over the base of your whisker line and around it, because remember what happens here is you've got these dark whisker follicles. There's very often dark fur in these follicles and they will surround the base of the whisker. So if you do that with a black pastel and then give it another rub, then the white will disappear into black and disappear into those follicles. And when you've finished doing a whole load of whiskers, depending how many you've got, then just use your black just to carefully sketch in some dark fur, which is not that visible on this one, of course, sketching some dark fur around and the base of the whiskers. And now you have whiskers that look like they're growing out of instead of laid on top of the fur. The second thing is often you may find that when you're working from photographs, the highlights on your photograph aren't that interesting. And indeed, there's nothing wrong in reproducing your painting to represent the photographs you've got. But sometimes you can enhance a portrait, especially something on black, that could ordinarily look quite dull by putting some white highlights on, for instance, by changing the colour of your highlight. So we can imagine that skunk here maybe, it could be outside, the sun could be setting, it could be against a dark background. And if we get a setting sun or a sunrise, then why not choose an orange pastel? So I've got an orange hard pastel here, and again the light is going to come from the right hand side. So what I need to do is, with the edge of my orange pastel, just pick out the edge of his ear, some individual hairs coming out of the ear. And what will happen, especially on black, is that will just brighten up the edge. It'll give it a bit of a lift. And very often we'll just do straightforward white highlights, for example, and we won't get that zingy lift that is sometimes nice on a portrait. And orange is really a great colour to try. It just actually frames the whole portrait and lifts it off of that black background. So remember where your light is, of course, coming down the side of the ear. You may well catch a little bit of the orange light at the back of the ear, almost a sort of halo effect, but don't try to draw an orange line all the way around, and vary the thicknesses of your highlights. So if you've got thicker fur on this side, make the highlights a little bit thicker. If you've got a thinner edge to the ear, for example, on this side, then make it a thinner highlight. If you make it the same width of highlight all the way around, it won't work. And if you decide you're going to do this, then again, make sure it's visible, especially on the lighter side, where the light's coming from. If you don't do that, if you wimp out, then it won't work. So once you're committed, keep it subtle and thin, away from the light source, and keep it nice and sharp with your light source. Even little bits of fur underneath the eyes will catch that orange light around the tip of the nose and around the white fur under the nose. Again, thicker, softer fur, so make the highlight nice and thick. Going down around the chin. The thing with white fur as well, if you've got a strong light shining through white fur, it'll bunch all that white fur together. It'll make it really dramatic. So you could use maybe a yellow if it's mid-morning light. White highlights generally occur when the sun is quite high, when the sun is very white, but other times of the day it might appear golden yellow, for example, or in this case, a sort of evening or dawn effect. But what it does more than anything, of course, is just give the whole portrait a boost and lifts it even further off that black background.
Great techniques there for painting captivating cats in pastel. Thanks, Vic. Now let's join popular watercolour artist Louise Bogard as she makes the point to explain why SAA sword liners are the perfect artistic accessory.
Today I'm going to show you how I would use SAA's small sword liner. It's a fantastic brush which gets an incredible point, but it's also got a very big area at the bottom where it can hold lots of pigment, but as I say, goes to a really fine point, so you get an incredible amount of different brush strokes. So let's have a little bit of a play. I'm going to dunk it into my purple that I've got in my palette. Just take off a little bit on the edge, and let's have a look at the sort of marks we can get. You can get some really fine wriggly lines. You can press harder and get some very interesting marks going along. Imagine if you're painting a sea, and even thicker, and pull it off. The amount of marks that you can make with this brush is incredible and amazingly good fun. So then you can go into long grasses, very fine detail. You might want to do some straight lines, but very, very fine lines. I think my most favourite one's doing grasses and reeds. You press down and then lift off and get this incredible mark at the bottom, at the top, sorry, where it's really fine. But you can also just do a straight line, pull it off. Most incredible brush. So let's have a look as to where we'd use this. So if I just mop this little bit up here, reveal underneath that I have a sunset one I prepared earlier. Let's have a little go at putting some reeds and ripples into the water. Take a little bit of the colour off the brush onto some tissue. Seems a bit of a waste, but I need to make sure I haven't got too much. I'd like to suggest a few ripples in the water. I've got some colour, but not enough. So we just put the odd few little ripples, intermittent, and make it just a little more interesting. Some fine lines. A little bit thicker there. Let's just calm that one down a little bit. And lift it off. Press and lift off. Incredibly versatile brush. Right, into that I would now like to start doing some reeds. So we've got an estuary and the sun setting, so now we can have some reeds that are just at the front, so we're peeking through. So press down, twist and lift off. Press down, twist and lift off. Sounds like an exercise class. And then you can have lots of random ones coming in all over the place. Put a few more purple ones over this side. Really interesting to have one coming in and then twisting off on the side. So you're creating a small frame for your picture. I'm going to clean the purple off and pick up a warmer colour to complement the colours in the painting. So I've got quinacridone gold and permanent rose. Let's just bring the changes a little bit. A few more colours going into those reeds. And step back, have a look. What have we managed to achieve with our wonderful sword liner? See if we can get this tape off. And you can see the magic of a sword liner. Beautiful in my opinion. I hope you'll get yourselves one and have fun with it too. See you soon.
Thanks Louise. The SAA sword liner is perfect for painting a wide variety of brush strokes, great for grasses, reeds and foliage. This versatile brush is one artistic essential that every artist should have in their collection. Well folks, time for a little break, but join us in part 2 when spellbinding professional artist Sharon Hurst conjures up another magical painting in part 1 of today's enchanting Try Your Hand At project. And popular oil artist Marion Dutton shares her top tip for giving your floral paintings a sparkling finishing touch. We'll see you after the break.